And welcome back to Sunday Report. I'm Joe Pinnon. Well, former President Donald Trump dominating the GOP primary field. Despite his legal woes, the campaign raising millions of dollars after the release of his mugshot from the Fulton County Jail. And the latest poll from YouGov shows Trump slightly ahead of President Biden, 44 to 43%. And his lead is only growing over the rest of the Republican field since the conclusion of the first debate. Joining us now, former Ronald Reagan advisor and Republican strategist Ed Rollins. Also joining us, ambassador for America First Policy Institute and Newsmax contributor Jessie Duff. Ed, I'll start with you. President Trump's mugshot raked in a hefty haul, about $9 million and counting. It's a bit of a cottage industry, and also the debate did see a spike for some other folks, Nikki Haley among others. But my concern is that you see Republicans burning through boatloads of cash for a primary that in many ways looks like it's already decided. Do you think the party has the ability to reload, particularly when we see the struggles with some of these small donors in these past cycles?
The Republican donors, small and large, have been pressed pretty hard the last couple of years, both for President Trump and also for the Senate candidates, and they will be again. The thing that bothers me about president is that he's got such enormous legal challenges and the cost of paying for those, in which he's paid most of his own fees out of one of his PACs. For the first time, people are starting to talk about, is he going to have enough money to go all the way? Certainly not enough money to go all the way in the primaries, but he's going to have to do things differently than he's ever done before. And he may have to tap into some of his own personal billions, which he hasn't to date. But when you think in terms of it could be $500,000 a week for legal fees by the time you get these 4 trials going. It's an enormous cost, and certainly that's not benefiting voters, not benefiting President Trump any.
Absolutely. Jessie, I want to come to you. I always remember Reagan's 11th commandment, thou shalt not speak ill of another Republican. Seemingly a few candidates on that debate stage forgot that famous admonition. Is it your concern that perhaps we have lost focus as a party, a movement of conservatives, where the real target is the Biden economy that's failing, a foreign policy doctrine that at best doesn't exist, at worst is driving us closer to World War III, the stench of corruption that surrounds Hunter Biden? It appears so often that these core issues that are on the minds of the American voters get pushed to the side amongst this petty infighting.
Well, I don't know that any of the fighting is petty, to be honest, because the reality is we have to have a primary winner. And some of the people that are actually running, I have to agree with President Trump, really have no business being on that stage. I would say that there are people that are blasting President Trump, and all that it's doing is making them look bad. I would just merely say someone like Chris Christie and Asa Hutchins, if that is their campaign, they're not going to go very far. I dare to say they will not even be in the second debate. They'll only reveal themselves. All these discussions are revealing to Americans what the truth is truly about, that they fear Donald Trump getting back into the White House. The left does, the leftist even more so. And the Democratic Party now is ruining their brand because they will not be a party of integrity. They have come out vehemently against Donald Trump. You have two indictments that are going by the Department of Justice. You have 2 indictments that are going by George Soros prosecutors. And they're all staged exactly in a very timely way. Every time they came out with more information on Hunter Biden, another indictment would drop. We can look at the history of those, the timelines. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party is standing steadfast with Joe Biden. So what's going to happen if Joe Biden doesn't stay on this ticket and they decide to change horses? Whoever gets on that ticket, whoever it may be, whether it be Kamala or Gavin Newsom, they're going to have to attest for why they defended Joe Biden. The $21 million that got into his coffers, his family coffers, while he was vice president is reprehensible, and it should have been outrageous. And as many on the Republican side have said, this should have been Pulitzer Prize winning material for any reporter had they actually gone out and covered it the way they should. Instead, they provide cover. Not a good look for the Democratic Party at all.
Well, Ed, want to come back to you because as you look to Jessie's point, right, if you're somebody who got into this race on the assumption that you could beat President Trump, arguably the most bombastic brand in politics today. They were banking on some type of Obama-like shocker in Iowa, all those early states. You know, I look at history. You go back to 2007 when Obama was able to beat Hillary Clinton. You get in that political time machine there. Obama was actually trailing Hillary Clinton by less than 5% in Iowa, according to some of those early August polls from the University of Iowa, and was actually ahead by 1 point, according to a late July survey from NBC and the Wall Street Journal. We're here in September now. Certainly there is not a single Republican even sniffing those type of marks there in Iowa. So from your perspective and from a historical perspective, has the window closed on this kind of quasi notion of going out there and defeating President Trump?
No one in a Republican primary is going to defeat President Trump. He has a strong, solid base. It's gotten stronger as he's gone through these terrible indictments. The fact that he's been indicted on 91 counts is just absurd. At the end of the day here, we're going to spend all of our time in watching trials or listening to trials analysis as opposed to discussing the issues. This is a very vulnerable President Biden, and the former president can stand up there and take everything apart, from the immigration to the economy to what have you. And unfortunately, the challenge will be to break through when you've got all this legal stuff. And I think to a certain extent, Republicans ought to be talking about those issues and not about Trump's legal problems.
Absolutely. Jessie, last question to you here. Obviously, Mike Pence, the former vice president, he appeared on Newsmax yesterday with Tom Basile. He had this to say about his presidential run. Take a listen.
I've been a vice president. I've been a governor here in Indiana. I was a leading House conservative for 12 years. I think, in all humility, I think I am the most experienced, the most tested, the most proven conservative in this field. And I think that's exactly what it's going to take, not just to beat Joe Biden, but to turn this country around.
Jessie, your thoughts?
I don't know that he's the most proven, because the policies that they're all running on were those of Donald J. Trump. Every last one of them is doing an America first. They're going against illegal immigration. They're trying to drop gas prices, chasing Joe Biden's inflation. Yep. Not one of them has a unique platform. They can't plow ahead of Donald J. Trump, who was not an establishment person. And that's what goes actually against Mike Pence, is that he was an establishment guy. And American people don't trust anyone who is former or current establishment. Yep. It makes them just distrustworthy, because the government has proven they're going against the America First agenda when it comes to the MAGA supporters.
Absolutely. Ed Rollins, Jessie Jane Duff, good to see you both. Thanks so much.